Hey everyone, how are we doing today? Welcome back. This is Mo, and please welcome my friend Alexa. How are we doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited. This is my first podcast ever, so I'm thankful to be able to talk about
Thank
everything with
you. I really appreciate to be the first one to have you. I hope you have too many after me, and I'm really appreciate you came for and accept the invite. And I know Alexa. She's a photographer. I met her through the Jack's social group and Jack's creator group, and you're really doing a great job. Thank you for doing that, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited.
Thank you. And being a photographer, do you uh, do you have another job or just a photographing?
This is my full-time job. So I initially had a corporate 9 to 5, and then after moving to Jacksonville, I was like, you know what? I think that this is what I want to do. I want to have a job that I'm passionate about every day because I got tired of being in the typical 9 to 5 routine. So I did full force. I'm putting all my energy into this, and so far it's paid off. It was definitely scary to do at first, but I'm very thankful for it, and it's been going really well.
This was my question. You didn't fear or like scared to go all the way to be a photographer without having a backup job, and then something happened or
So I was absolutely terrified.
Mhm.
It was one of those things that I had been wanting to do for years, but I was
Mhm.
like, no, I like the stability. But after moving to Jacksonville with my husband, the job that I had, I wasn't able to stay because they
Mhm.
wanted someone in the office, which I understand.
Mhm.
So I had started interviewing for other jobs, and I got a couple job offers, but it was one of those that I was like, yeah, like it's a paycheck, but I don't want to accept a job offer that I'm not passionate about because I feel like life's too short to hate your job. So I was trying to figure out what to do with my life, and my wedding photographer actually invited me to a happy hour, and I figured, okay, like I'll meet some other photographers. And I was talking to my wedding photographer, and I told her, like I really want to be a photographer, but I'm too scared. And she said, well, you do realize that you could make a lot more money than you did at your corporate job. And I said, well, but I could also lose a lot of money. And she said, well, you don't know until you try. And it was just at that moment that I thought, you know what, she's right. Like, I could always go back to a corporate job if it doesn't work, but it is one of those things that I won't know until I try. I just remember driving home after that happy hour and just feeling like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. Like, I have the answer. And so I, like, right after that, I started doing all this research, how to open an LLC. I wanted to go all in, like reading constant blog posts, books, everything that I could get my hands on just for advice on how to run my own business and be a full-time photographer. And it definitely was scary at first. It was one of those situations where I had to put myself out there if I wanted to see a return. I definitely stepped out of my comfort zone a lot, but I overcame. Like, I used to be a huge introvert, and I feel like just going to happy hours by myself and meeting all these people, like that's how I met you. So just really stepping out of my comfort zone was what helped me grow in ways that I never imagined.
I like that. I'm always saying I love to bring the people here who follow their passion and they push themselves out of comfort zone because too many talented people or too many people doing the job, which is a corporate job most of the time, and just do it for stable life or being okay. This is my comfort zone. I'm paying my bill. I'm having the normal life. So why I take a risk? But I love the people who push themselves out of this comfort zone and try. What's gonna happen? You take the risk. Let's say you will fail. Okay, go back.
Exactly.
But at least you try. You will never feel regret about not doing it because most of the people I'm always saying there is no regret for something you did. There is regret about something you didn't.
Exactly.
So I'm glad you did it and it looks like working now.
Yes, so, definitely. And I feel like this year, like ever since 2024 started, just like from January 2nd on, it's just like, I mean, last year, because I opened my business in August officially, so obviously it takes some time to ramp up. It was definitely scary the first couple months, only getting like maybe one booking a week to two bookings a week, and me thinking, oh my goodness, did I make the right decision? Like, I was so scared, but I'm thankful my husband was extremely supportive.
Okay.
But yeah, just by putting myself out there and really stepping out of my comfort zone this year, I went from last year getting booked once or twice a week to getting 1 to 2 bookings a day.
Oh, wow.
So, and then my Instagram reach too, my reach used to be around 700 people a month was my insight. Now I'm at about 4.5 thousand. So my reach drastically increased. So a lot of it was just being consistent with posting and marketing and just not being afraid to attend all these networking hours, putting myself out there, DMing people on Instagram. So it definitely, it's a lot of work. I've worked way more hours than I ever did at any of my corporate jobs.
Yeah, but this is for yourself. Like this, you are investing in yourself.
Exactly.
You will too much, because in the beginning, in the future, you will not do that much work anymore.
Exactly.
You just keep coming back. Yeah, you did a hard work in the beginning, but after, it's coming back.
Exactly, but it still doesn't feel like work. Like I'm working anywhere from 60 to 70 hours a week now. I typically worked like between 40 and 50 hours at my corporate jobs. But it doesn't, like I don't feel that burnt out, drained feeling. I love it, and I love just being there for my clients and supporting them and just taking the photos and just even showing them a photo I took on my camera before it's even edited and just seeing their face light up and say how excited they are to see it. So just the rewards that I get mentally just from making people happy is everything I could have ever wanted.
Yeah, I think you would never burn out of this job because you're doing something you love.
Exactly.
You are happy to do it. So you would never feel that. Maybe you'll feel tired, but not burned out because you're doing something you love. And I love you doing that and give the people example. So I can do it, like I can push myself and do something. Because too many talented people never do. At least for me, until now, I wanted to do the podcast, but I couldn't leave my job now, so I have to have this and that. Until one day, maybe I will say, okay, I can be only one time, like full time, doing the podcast. But I enjoy and I'm really happy and proud actually to see someone really push themselves out of this comfort zone. But is it being a photographer was something a dream job for you, or something you want to do always, or just an idea came out lately?
It's something that I have wanted to do for a while. Ever since I was younger, I just always loved photos. I remember back in the film days, I had like my very first camera ever. I was maybe 3 or 4. It was like one of those Barbie cameras. It was on film. I remember the excitement going to Sam's Club to get it developed. But and then I got like my first digital camera when I was in middle school, and then when I was in high school, I got my first DSLR camera. So it just
so you are a photographer since you were 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah, and and the first photos I took, they were definitely cringy, like the over contrasted middle school photos. If you know, it was like Picnic was the program that we used to edit. So I've definitely come a long way since then. But I always loved taking photos. I just remember my corporate jobs whenever they said, "Hey, like, do you mind like going and taking your camera and photographing this?" I'd get all excited. Like, I get paid to take photos. This is the coolest thing. So it's something I always wanted to do, and I can't ever imagine myself doing anything else. But yeah, this is just, it's like a dream come true, like getting to do what I love all the time and get paid for it.
That's not, how was the feeling of the first payment came from being a photographer?
It felt almost surreal, like someone wants to pay me for my photos.
Okay.
I mean, I still definitely experience the imposter syndrome, and I think that's very common with photographers and artists in general. I remember seeing a quote, it was like one of the best photographers in the world. He spent 40 years taking photos, and I think he said there was 50 of them that he liked out of all of that.
Really?
And like to this day even, I'll send like my friends photos before I deliver them, be like, hey, like, do you have any feedback for me? Like, I still get nervous before.
To send
until
now?
And it's definitely gotten better now, but I still definitely think I experience the imposter syndrome. Just like wondering, like, are my photos worth what I'm charging?
Okay.
And, but I think that's just normal with photographers. Even some of the best photographers in the world have those moments where they're like, like, I don't know about this. So it definitely felt surreal to get my first payment and just seeing, people looking at my portfolio. And I work with like a couple other social media companies that are based elsewhere that need photos in Jacksonville, and they don't even ask me, they just pay me whatever their budget is, which is higher than I ever expected. And that's kind of what also started helping me determine my worth. Like, these companies are pitching me higher than what I'm charging other clients. So just seeing what other people determine my photos are worth, it's like becoming surreal and me realizing how much value I have.
I like that. Do you like to do more branding or personal, or what kind of photographer you are?
So I really like branding just because I spent 6 years in corporate marketing. So I do think that taking photos from a marketer's perspective is very important. And not everyone is able to see how this photo will benefit marketing, if that makes sense. So I obviously want to style a photo and make it look worthy of viewers seeing it, but I also want to make sure that each photo I take tells a story, so that way those that maybe need a branding photographer or businesses that need to sell a certain product, the viewers are looking at it like, why do I care about this product? Why do I want to buy it? So I always make sure, like for example, when I take photos of restaurants, like chips and queso, for example, I get some photos of just the chips and queso, yes, but I also want to make sure I focus on people dipping the chips and queso to make it look appetizing, to envision themselves eating the chips and queso. So I always, that's just one example, but I do like all different kinds of branding. I've done like beauty salons, I've done hair salons, restaurants, massage therapists, so I kind of do a little bit of everything, but regardless of where I am, I always try to make sure to tell a story in my photos, so that way the consumer could envision themselves.
Connect to it, or like imagine themselves in this position doing that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Do you have a goal to go for being branding photographer?
So I guess a long-term goal, like the ultimate dream goal, would be for me to work on a national level. I would love for hotels. I spent 10 years in hotels. Two and a half were marketing for hotels, but I've worked like at the customer service level, so I always have like a soft spot for the hospitality field. I love it. So the dream job would be for like hotel brands and restaurants like nationally to reach out to me and have me come take photos for them. That's the ultimate goal, but for right now is just to continue growing. And since I am new to Jacksonville, I don't have as many connections as someone who's lived here their whole life, so just really making sure to get my name out there and like gaining more awareness on Instagram and just getting more and more businesses to be aware of what Alexa Roberts photography is.
That makes sense. But do you think Jacksonville is a good environment, or like a good place for being a photographer here?
I do, especially for branding. There's small businesses popping up constantly, and I always love just being there to support them and take photos for them. And there's even restaurants that, you know, may not need a branding photographer, but I still like to just go support them or buy something. I'm very, very big on supporting small businesses.
The locals, yeah.
Exactly. So I think just with how many people are kind of leaving the corporate job right now, especially Jacksonville, it's a lot more laid back. A lot of people want to follow their passions as opposed to doing something just for the money.
Yeah.
So I think Jacksonville's a great place for it.
I like that. But also they have a lot of photographers. So when you get into this field, you didn't afraid of having too much competition around here?
I definitely was at first, but I think being a branding photographer is what sets me apart from the rest. So there are a ton of family and maternity photographers, wedding photographers, which I think is so important because there's tons of families here in Jacksonville. But I just don't think that there's a ton of photographers that have the marketing background that I do, which is why I think that it doesn't scare me as much as it initially did when I started, just because I do have a unique background and I'm able to use that with my photos, which is why I focus so heavily on branding. So for anyone that wants to be a photographer, even if someone wants to be a family or maternity photographer, I think that there's still a place in the market for them. It's just figuring out what sets them apart from the rest. So like wedding photographers, for example, there's so many wedding photographers in Jacksonville, but a lot of them edit in their own unique style. So some of them will shoot with film, some of them will do like the warm photos, some do the dark and moody. So their brand and the type of photos that they take is what sets them apart, because no one's just a wedding photographer. Some of them they specialize in different types of weddings. Some of them are elopement photographers, some of them are like do lots of big weddings. So I think if someone ever wants to follow their passion, they shouldn't focus on, oh, there's too many of them already. They should focus on what makes me different than all these other photographers.
How you think someone want to start to be a photographer now? How they start and how they find the best for them? Like how you decided to be, maybe because your background you decided to be a branding a photographer. That was easy pick for you, I guess. But how someone just starting doesn't really have too much experience to be a photographer, how they decide this and how they start?
So I think for someone, say, brand new to taking photos, I think that they need to be comfortable with a camera first. Taking photos on your phone and taking photos on a camera are completely different, especially when you're shooting in manual. You have to be comfortable with your settings. You have to be comfortable with your camera. You have to be comfortable with lighting. There are some photographers out there that I've just seen like in blogs and on the internet throughout the United States that are not comfortable with using flash, and I feel like that is extremely important, especially when it comes to wedding photography, for example, because you don't know what the lighting's going to be outside. You don't know if it's going to be a cloudy day. You know, photos look great on bright sunny days, but you have to know how to use lighting exactly, and the flash as well, especially when it comes to indoor weddings and such. So I think it's important to be comfortable with the equipment, and then once you know how to properly do your settings on the camera, and then how to incorporate external lighting into your photos, then figure out what drives you to take photos. So it's more so just figuring out the equipment and then figuring out what you like. I always recommend taking photos like of anything and everything and figuring out what you like. And it's going to take a while before someone new to photography is comfortable with it. I remember reading, there's this forum that I was looking at, and it was a brand new photographer that said, oh, I don't think I'm ever going to be good. I took 350 photos and none of them came out good. And I was thinking, 350 photos, I take that in an hour. Like,
oh, wow.
That's like one session for me. Like, if you're going to give up after 350 photos, then why'd you even try? So I think that, I mean, honestly, in my entire lifetime, I've probably taken at least 100,000 photos in my lifetime. That's just an estimate. Probably a lot more. But it's just, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe more like 500,000. I really would have to think about it. But
oh, wow, that's a lot.
When I worked at Disney, we would go through the camera's lifespans in 3 months just because of how many photos we were taking. So a lot of that came from Disney, but I've definitely took several 100,000 photos. But what I'm getting at with this is in order to be, it's just like any other type of art. A lot of people, when they look at cameras, they're like, oh, like you just push the button and click. But photography is the same as like any other type of art. You could compare it to like watercolor painting or charcoal drawing. It's the same thing. You have to, it takes so much practice before you get good at it. So I guess my biggest piece of advice for newer photographers would be not to get discouraged. Just keep practicing and just take photos of anything and everything once they're comfortable with their equipment, and then figure out what makes them passionate. Is it maternity photos? Is it family photos? Do they like taking pet photos? Or is it branding? And just like really following your passion, because if you are taking photos just for the money and not because you enjoy taking them, it shows in the photo. So I think
I can understand what you mean, you know. Okay, that's a good advice, I guess. I like that. So now we've been talking with Alexa as a photographer. We want to know who is Alexa. So let me ask you something. What if Alexa can talk with her young Alexa? What kind of advice Alexa can say? Let's say 15 years back.
15 years, okay.
So if you can talk with, you can go back in time with Alexa 15 years back and say something to her. What are you going to say?
So 15 years ago, I was about to enter high school. So I would definitely say...
That's a good time.
Yeah. So I would definitely say to not be afraid to be yourself, because I was always focused on, okay, like I need to blend in. What's everyone else doing? I don't want to be the nerd. I want to be the cool one. But honestly, the world, I forget how the quote goes, but basically like the world is full of people trying to be like other people. Like, be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just by you being yourself, it's a lot easier to follow your passions. So I think that would be the biggest piece of advice. But yeah, I definitely think during college too, I went to a liberal arts college, so it was a little bit easier to be myself and branch out. But high school was definitely, I did not fit in with the people at my high school. I was very laid back and like didn't like to dress up. And I went to like a very preppy high school where all the girls like had like these expensive dresses on and like did their hair and makeup all nice for class every day. And I was like, oh, I gotta be like them. But so yeah, I think just I wish I could have been more myself.
This advice would help you at this time?
Exactly.
Okay. I like it.
I think so. Yeah, probably in high school, I think that would have been the best. And then if I were to give myself advice, like 5 years ago, so my early 20s, I think.
Okay.
I definitely tell myself to do more with photos, because for a while I just focused on like doing corporate photos and anything for my job, and I'd go 6 months to a year with my camera just sitting in the closet and being like, I take photos for work, I don't want to take any photos outside of so really when I started Alexa Roberts Photography, that was like, I had an Instagram for my photos, but I didn't really use it. Like, I'd update maybe once or twice a year. So I wish that I kept that Instagram more active and trying to get an audience. That would have helped me a lot right now, since I'm trying to build an audience.
To start earlier? Okay.
That would probably be the biggest piece of advice, but at the same time, I feel like everything was meant to be in this timeline. So as much as I wish I could go back and change things, I know that maybe things wouldn't be where they are today if I didn't follow this path. So,
well, it's a good advice anyway. So especially you want to do something you like. What if you go back to that childhood time? What would you advise yourself when you were a child?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. That's a really good question, I guess.
Take your time.
Oh my gosh. Childhood. I guess I could have... I don't know. Like, I did take a lot of photos in my childhood. Like, I post them, like, on Facebook and stuff like that. But, I really don't know. I'm trying to think.
How was your childhood? Like, can you describe it? How was it?
So, when I was younger, I lived in Pennsylvania. So it was very cold, and it was like a lot of like winter sports was the thing there. So, yeah, I'm trying to think. Sorry, I know this is like such a hard question.
No, take your time. I really like this. I like the people to think about this kind of question, because when you think about it, you will give me an honest answer. I don't want someone like ask them a question and give me like a first thing coming to their mind. No, think about it, and because you talk about your childhood, all the childhood, so.
You know what? I think I got it. I got it. So
I'm ready.
So when YouTube first launched, like the very beginning of YouTube, I remember wanting to make a channel and like make videos with my friends, and I did, but I stopped after a while because I was like, oh, like, you know, I don't know what other people think of me. Like, I don't want to be that weird kid in school, because more and more people from my school started being like, hey, I saw your YouTube channel. And like, it just... I feel like I stopped, like, out of, like, oh, like, I feel like I'm, like, that cringy person. I don't want to do that.
You're afraid of the people judging you or talking about you?
Exactly. And I still feel that way. Like, I'm going to be totally honest right now. I still feel that way to this day. Sometimes with my Instagram posts, like, sometimes I'll get posts that get, like, a lot of likes immediately. Sometimes it takes them a while. And there have been times where I'm like, oh, it's been 15 minutes and it's only gotten 1 like. Let me delete it and try and repost at another time. So I just, like, to this day, I still really focus on external validation and like how many people like or comment on my things. And even my husband points it out. He's like, you need to do things for yourself, not what other people want. So I feel like if I could go back to my early childhood and give myself one piece of advice, it would be do things for yourself. Like, it doesn't matter what other people think of you. It doesn't matter what their reactions are, what praise you get from them. Are you proud of yourself? If so, that's all that matters. Because I feel like that was if I had started working on that a lot earlier in life, I'd probably be
change
more...
a lot.
Exactly.
I like that. It's a good advice. See?
Just had to think about it for a little
Take
bit.
all your time. You know, we are here to hear you. So that's a good one. So, okay. If you can go in time and ask yourself, your future self, let's say 20 years from now, what are you going to ask?
I would ask if my long-term goal was either achieved or being close to being achieved. So my long-term goal of taking photos nationally, I'd ask myself if I achieved it, and if I did, what path I took to cause that to happen. Like if it was just like by luck having a really good client, or if I upped my marketing, or like ask myself what I did to cause that, or if I did not, ask myself what I could do today to change that and maybe make it happen.
I like that. You didn't ask anything personally. You ask about, you are very practical, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, I take my personal life seriously. Like, I really do like my life outside of work. But I've always been that way. Ever since I was 16, I was always more of a workaholic and always putting my job first. And I really like to see growth and success in myself. And yeah, like, I always like my life outside of work. Like, even at work, I like pretty much would only talk about work. I'd always feel weird when people would ask me personal questions and things like that. So yeah, work is always...
I feel like all your question went to business and work side, not really about, like, you didn't ask anything about the future, about how's the life going or anything. That I like it, you know, that seem how you really appreciate your work and you're really passionate about it. So I really appreciate it and like it. Okay, let's go for the next one. And if you can go back to any time in the history to take one picture, what kind of picture you would like to take? For a wild, for a history, for a person, for a place, whatever.
Oh, that's a really good one. Oh, that's another one that I have to think about.
Take your time.
One picture, that's really difficult.
Take more picture if you want, but just tell me where and when. And who, if it's a person.
I don't know about like an event in history, but there's definitely like some places that I've definitely wanted to photograph. Like I've always wanted to go to like Alaska or Canada or just somewhere and photograph the Northern Lights.
Okay.
That's always been a dream of mine, and I'm hoping one day it happens. So I know it's not like a cool history event or anything.
No,
but
it's a good something for you.
Yeah, it's always been a dream of mine to just like see the Northern Lights in person and photograph it. It definitely is one of those things that, you know, like I need to bring my tripod, and it would be a lot to bring it to wherever I have to go, because obviously you're not going to see them in Florida. But
I love this, and I wanted to do it. I was looking where the best places to do it, and too many people said Norway or Finland.
Yes.
To go, and they have this kind of hotels. They give you a room with the glasses, two profs, like you are looking at the sky all the night. So that's a good thing to have the camera, like to put it on the tripod for all night. You'll get too many good pictures and enjoy also your time there.
Exactly.
Because I love this, and it's something in my list I want to do. So that's actually a good picture. I would love to see it. Okay, if you have a museum and you can have 5 pictures, describe who is Alexa from all the time since you were a child until now. Tell me what kind of 5 pictures you would have.
Like 5 pictures that I took, or just 5 pictures in general?
5 pictures can tell me, it's a museum about Alexa, and 5 pictures can describe who's Alexa to me. When I get inside and leave after this 5 pictures, I will understand who's Alexa.
Oh, that's a good one. I guess the first photo would be me as a child with my Barbie camera, my favorite, the OG camera.
I like it.
Because that's kind of like where it all started. But also I loved Barbies just because you know, like there's the stereotypical Barbies with like, you know, the kids and everything, but like I just like I know it's stereotypical, a lot of women like Barbie, but I just like how, you know, you could be whatever you want, and that definitely was kind of how my life has been. Like my most recent job, I oversaw the marketing for this company that it was like a very male dominated industry. So I actually took part of my job, I think the YouTube videos are still up, but I took the course on how to operate a crane. So,
Okay.
so me.
I don't see it, but I believe you. Okay.
I'll have to show you photos after the podcast. I think I have some.
Okay.
But yeah, like I had the hard hat and everything, and it's just like I didn't expect that.
Okay.
But at the same time, I am the type of person that I'm like, yeah, well, just because it's like a man-dominated industry, like it's marketing, it'd be cool. I love to learn, and I found it so fascinating. Like I could tell you all these random facts about cranes, and I could point out a crane, tell you what type of crane it is, and it's just like it's not something I imagine, but
especially from you,
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I think that would be one, and then
the Barbie camera, like
the Barbie camera, and like just the meaning behind Barbie.
Okay.
So that would be the first one. The second one would probably be a picture of me and my dog that I had like throughout pretty much my whole childhood. She lived until she was almost 19, so I had her like
you had her for a long time. That's nice.
Yes, I did. So like she was very special to me, and
what was her name?
Her name was Sasha.
Nice. Okay.
And then I always wanted a pet, like after I moved out and was on my own and everything. And then I ended up getting a cat that I absolutely adore, and she's amazing. And she kind of has like the same personality that Sasha had. So I feel like, I don't know, it was cute. Yeah, so I think me and my dog, I'm like a huge animal person. So I think that
will describe you also. So
yes.
This is a second picture. Okay.
Exactly. And then what was I going to say? So that's 2. Got 3 more. I think me in college, like a photo of me like on my college campus would be another one, just because I never really took my education that seriously. Like I was the type of person I could read something real quick and be like, yep, I'm good.
Okay.
So when I was in like high school, like I was like an A-B student. Like I wasn't like a stellar student, but I also wasn't like, C's like I was never that kind of person. But when I was in college, I was like, okay, like I need to actually like take this seriously. I need to actually learn the information and not just pass a test. And I feel like ever since then, like, ever since I graduated, I still read books because I'm intrigued. And I really liked my degree. Like, I still passionately talk about the classes I took because I found it so interesting. So my degree was in communication studies, which is learning how and why we communicate. So, like, the way that my college structured the courses, like, there was a class on communications and relationships. So you're literally just learning how to communicate with people. And there's, like, all these different theories. And I really liked it. So I'm thankful for my college and the amazing professors that I had helping me take education seriously. Another photo would be me at Disney. Yes, that would definitely be a big one. So when I was younger and I lived in Pennsylvania, my family and I would always go to Disney. And that was like, we try to go like every couple of years, and I loved it so much because I loved Florida. I loved how warm it was. And I always felt like as I got older and like life got more stressful, I always felt like Disney was the place I could go to de-stress. And I remember telling myself, like, when I think I was 12 and I was like really sad to leave, I was like, you know what, like one day I'm gonna work for Disney and it'll be like a vacation every day. And obviously the real world doesn't work that way, but I vowed to myself when I was 12 that I was going to work for Disney. And I did it. And I did so I worked there. I worked at Spaceship Earth, which is the ride inside the Epcot ball, and then I also did PhotoPass there. So it was just cool getting to take pictures of people
in your favorite place there. So that's
exactly.
Nice.
So I think just seeing that dream come true was surreal. It's like I actually work for this company, and it was amazing. So that would be the 4th picture, and then the 5th picture I think would be me and my husband, because he has supported me a lot, and he's like my best friend, obviously, and I think just a lot of things so I'm 27 right now, so like my mid and late 20s I think would not be the same without his support and help. Okay. So yeah.
How long you been together?
We've been together for 3.5 years.
Okay, that's a good time. Do you married quickly, like after a short time?
Yeah, so long story short, we actually grew up in Pennsylvania together and we never met. There's a chance that we were probably at the same events and things together because we had like a mutual friend in common. but it was one of those things that, like, I knew who he was, he knew who I was. We just never, like, our paths never crossed. And he moved to San Francisco, and I moved to Florida, and we ended up reconnecting. And it was one of those things that just, like, happened so fast when, like, we just, like, bonded over Pennsylvania together. And we got engaged after 8 months, which I know is a crazy short amount of time, but we had a long engagement. We were engaged for 2 years.
Okay.
But it was just one of those things that, I mean, we had both dated people before, and we knew what works and what doesn't work, and we felt that connection. We're like, you know what, I think this is
It's
so,
time.
yeah.
I like that, it's even a short time or long time. When you find the right person, you find the right person. You know when you find it, especially the guy. Usually he know when he finds the right person.
Exactly.
You don't need to wait too many years to find out. You just believe yourself when you find it. But I like it. Okay, we usually play a game in the end, quick game, and you answer with one word. So I will give you this or that, and you answer with one word. So let me ask you, perfection or satisfaction?
Probably satisfaction, just because I feel like there's no such thing as perfection. I'm that type of person that I want to be perfect, but I know that perfection is never going to be achieved. Like, there's always ways that you can make a photo look better, but there's also a point where you need to stop and just accept that you're done with
Accept what you've done.
Exactly.
Okay, I like this answer. And beach or mountain?
The mountains. I know that sounds crazy living in Jacksonville.
That was my question, but okay. I asked this question for everyone I interviewed here, and all of them said mountain, and all of them living in Jacksonville, Florida. So that doesn't make sense. What you are doing here?
I think it might be more of a, you always want what you can't have. Yeah. Like, the beach is right here.
That's
like
true.
I could go to the beach whenever I want, but the mountains, I can't always go there. So
definitely this is the reason, because it's something they doesn't have now. So this is what they want. But yeah.
I guarantee if you ask the same question to people who live in the mountains, they'd say the beach.
They will say the beach, for sure. So the cold or the hot? The hot weather or cold weather?
Hot weather, definitely.
Cold or hot?
Hot.
Hot. Oh, okay. Yeah. So Florida is good for this.
Yes.
I said you said cold. I said what?
No. I grew up in Pennsylvania. It was way too cold there. Never again.
Okay, so hot weather. Okay, so that's very makes sense. Now you are in Florida for the hot, but you want the mountain, so I can see the conflict here. Okay, what else? Being a daughter or being a mom, which one you would prefer?
A photographer or a mom?
No, a daughter for your mom.
Oh, a daughter.
Yeah, a daughter or being a mom.
That's a tough one since I'm not a mom, so I don't know how that would...
You are a mom for your pets?
I always thought it would be fun to be a mom.
Okay.
Just like, I know that it's a big responsibility, but I always liked the idea of being able to be a mentor for someone that you are raising and just being there for them and supporting them. And I think that's also why I like my job so much, is because I get to support all my clients and be there for them. So I think that it would be fun to
be a mom.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
I don't even know if fun's the best word, because I know it's a difficult job and I'm not trying to undermine moms. I think it's a very hard but rewarding job.
Yes. I think you will feel proud when you are seeing your kid or whatever you are supporting growing up the way you wanted. So you will feel more proud than anything else. So doing something spontaneous or organized or planning?
That's a tough one, because I like to be spontaneous. I feel like the best adventures always come from being spontaneous, because I'm gonna go with spontaneous, because as much as I like to be organized and plan things, nothing ever goes to plan. So I feel like it's better to just be on the fly and plan things as it goes, rather than be disappointed if your organized plans don't work out.
I like that. Well, this is the end of it. I know it went very fast, but I really appreciate you came, and I like you've been here, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This was so fun.
Thank you. Appreciate it, and I hope everyone liked it. Please, if you like the episode, share, like, subscribe, and see you next time. Salam.